Israeli military chief warns of new plans to strike Iran. Iranian and Taliban officials met in Tehran on Wednesday and accused the U.S. of provoking the continuation of the war in Afghanistan, Iranian state TV reported. Ali Shamkhani, secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, told visiting Taliban political chief Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar that the U.S. seeks to continue the war in Afghanistan. The U.S. strategy supports the continuation of war and bloodshed among various Afghan groups in the political spectrum, Shamkhani was quoted as saying. He said the U.S. tries to blame insecurity and instability in the country on individual Afghan groups. There was no immediate comment from the U.S., which signed a peace agreement with the Taliban last February and met its goal this month of reducing the number of troops in Afghanistan to about 2,500. Baradar, who arrived Monday with a Taliban delegation, criticized the U.S. for allegedly breaking its commitments to the February deal. He did not elaborate. "We do not trust the U.S. and will fight any group that is a mercenary for the U.S., he said. Meanwhile, Israel's military chief Tuesday warned the Biden administration against rejoining the 2015 Iran nuclear deal, even if it toughens its terms, adding he's ordered his forces to step up preparations for possible offensive action against Iran during the coming year. The comments by Lieutenant General Aviv Kohavi came as Israel and Iran both seek to put pressure on President Joe Biden ahead of his expected announcement on his approach for dealing with the Iranian nuclear program. In Iran, leaders said they would not wait indefinitely for Biden to act. In his address to the Institute for National Security Studies, Kohavi said a return to the deal, even with some improvements, is bad operationally and it is bad strategically. He said allowing Iran to proceed with a nuclear program would be an unacceptable threat and will lead to nuclear proliferation across the region. Iran says its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes only. Kohavi said that given the threat posed by Iran, Israel's military would be prepared to attack its own if needed. "I instructed the army to prepare many operational plans in addition to the existing ones," he said. "We are taking care of these plans and will develop them during the coming year. Those who decide on carrying them out, of course, are the political leaders. But these plans have to be on the table." In recent news, B-52s returned to the Middle East in show of force as Biden weighs Iran policy. For the first time since President Joe Biden took office, U.S. Air Force B-52H bombers have performed a show of force mission over the Persian Gulf, reinforcing the fact the U.S. military remains on a heightened state of alert as regards Iran. The sortie, which took place yesterday, comes as the new U.S. administration works out how it will handle Iran after a months-long tense standoff with the previous Trump administration, and it continues the long-range deterrence missions aimed at Tehran that started back in November. The two B-52s from the 2nd Bomb Wing departed Barksdale Air Force Base in Louisiana, flew over Israel, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia, passed over the Persian Gulf near Qatar, then returned to Barksdale non-stop. The Pentagon has publicly stated in the past that these types of missions are a means of deterring possible Iranian aggression, as well as signaling support to U.S. allies in the region. For parts of the sortie, the bombers were accompanied by fighter jets from the Royal Jordanian and Royal Saudi Air Forces, as well as by fighters from the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier USS Nimitz. That supercarrier had been set to begin making its way home last year, but the Pentagon subsequently sent it back to the Middle East amid threats from the regime in Tehran over the U.S. military's killing of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani last year, including some directed specifically at then-President Donald Trump. We do know that U.S. policy is evolving with respect to Iran right now, and the new administration will make some decisions here over the next while, an unnamed U.S. military official told the Defense One website. "I do know if we can continue to deter Iranian aggression, that it'll give the policymakers more decision space." The same official confirmed that while the latest mission was not specifically scheduled to respond to any particular incident or threat, and had been planned weeks in advance, its timing was determined based on the value of deterrence after the inauguration. The official confirmed that further such missions would take place in the spring, but provided no further details. Other concerns included Would Iran try to do something to get some revenge on the Trump administration as they left office, the official added. We were also thinking ahead and going, okay, would they potentially try to test or pressure the US military in the early days of the new administration? As noted, while this is the first such flight since President Biden took office on January 20th, it is the fourth in the last 2 months, and the sixth since November. The last two such missions took place on January 8th and January 17th during a period in which there were acute fears that Iran might launch some kind of revenge attack to mark the first anniversary of the US drone strike in Iraq in January 2020 that killed General Qasem Soleimani, commander of Iran's Quds Force. Threats against the United States and former President Trump have continued since then, including one only last week in which Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei posted on social media a highly suggestive image of a drone targeting the former president on a golf course. Aside from the assassination of General Soleimani, relations between Iran and the United States have been severely strained ever since Trump's 2018 decision to walk away from the 2015 deal between Iran and 6 world powers that sought to limit Tehran's nuclear ambitions. Since then, sanctions reimposed by Washington have had a significant effect on the Iranian economy and have in turn been used by the Iranian regime to attempt to mobilize hostility toward the United States. However, Biden is in the process of recalibrating Washington's approach to Tehran and has said that the United States could rejoin the nuclear deal if Iran resumes strict compliance. Iran, meanwhile, has called for Biden to choose a better path by returning to the 2015 nuclear deal but said it would refuse to cooperate with any further concessions that might be demanded of it. Writing in Foreign Affairs magazine, Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif said that Biden can begin by removing all sanctions imposed since Trump assumed office and seek to re-enter and abide by the 2015 nuclear deal without altering its painstakingly negotiated terms.